McCann here for Seconds Out with Frank Warren in Birmingham, of all places. Frank, we'll start with the class Magnificent Seven in a second, the latest class, but I just wanted a Saudi debrief first of all. Coming off the back of that event, did AJ prove that he was one of the best in class with his knockout over Francis Ngannou?
It was an excellent knockout. I mean, excellent knockout. He took his opportunity when he see it and done it in style. He caught him with the same shot 3 times, first round and twice in the second, and done what he had to do. Yeah, it was a good win for him, no doubt about that.
Where do you now rank Anthony Joshua after this back of the resurgence against Franklin, Helenius, and Ngannou now? Where do you put him amongst the top heavyweights?
He's up there in the top 4. Yeah, he's up there top 4. The 2 best are fighting on the 18th of May. 2 undefeated heavyweights. The guy who beat AJ twice, he's Usyk. He's in the ring with Tyson, who's undefeated, and we'll see who's the best heavyweight in the world on the strength of that fight.
Speaking of Tyson, what was his reaction to the way that Anthony Joshua dispatched Francis Ngannou? 2 completely different ways of beating the fighter, but AJ was more emphatic.
It was more emphatic because I think he had some, and certainly with Ben as well as his new trainer, they had something to study and look at, and he took it. He left that gap when he switched very briefly orthodox southpaw. You could see it, and he was working on a shot, and his warm up in the dressing room. If you look at him when he's warming up, that jab to the body and then letting the right hand go, and he done it, and he sees opportunity and took it. And Tyson, both of us were cheering him on. I mean, we were sitting there with Eddie Hearn, and I'm quite sure he'll confirm we were there cheering him.
In the wake of the fight, I believe, or at least in the lead up, Spencer Brown was saying in some interviews that in the lead up to the fight with Francis Ngannou, Spencer Brown was saying in the lead up that Tyson Fury didn't have days of sleep heading into that fight. There wasn't things going right in the camp. Is that what kind of led to that performance or display against Ngannou for Tyson Fury?
Well, Tyson made it very clear, he had no excuses and didn't want to make any excuses. There were things, but it's irrelevant now. What happened. And on a bad night, he won the fight. And good top fighters do that. If they have an off night, they win a fight. It's when you look at his performances over the last few years and the way he's gone about his business, he won his fights in great style and tough fights at times. You had to get off the floor to win. I don't think you can. I mean, you do compare the fights, but you can't. But it's a bit like looking at Joe Parker against Zhang, and then looking Zhang against Joe Joyce. They're different different styles, and things happen. Tyson, I believe, will win on the 18th of May, and he comes through that. Down the line, I'm quite sure there'll be a fight with AJ. I'd like to see that happen. I really would like to see it happen. We tried to make it twice last year, you know that.
Getting to that shortly, I just want to stick with Tyson Fury. I spoke to Thomas Hauser, and off the back of how Anthony Joshua beat Francis Ngannou, he said that Tyson Fury should be embarrassed by his display against Ngannou. What's your response to that?
I think he should be embarrassed about anything. I mean, how can you be expected? He got off the floor. He got off the floor again, showed his heart and courage, and come through the fight and won the fight. I don't think he should be. I like Tom. Tom's is a good friend. I like Tom, but he shouldn't be embarrassed about anything. You can have an off night, and it was an off night, and that's the end of it. We'll see what the fight that matters. I mean, should AJ be embarrassed if Tyson knocks out Usyk? Don't agree with that at all.
Boxing is all about perspectives, and the perspective
is about results.
Results as well too.
That's all that matters. It's the result. At the end of the day, it's the result. That's what you look at in the record book. That's what it is.
But this is the interesting thing. Off of the back of, again, the Ngannou fight with Anthony Joshua, a lot of people in the industry, when you ask the questions about a potential Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight, are now picking Anthony Joshua to win and by KO as well too. What do you think about that? Most recently, I think Johnny Nelson was making that pick.
Well, Johnny Nelson was saying that, so I'm quite sure he said that AJ was going to get beaten, didn't he?
Can't remember off the top of my head, Frank.
Might be in him, I'm not sure. But anyway, with the greatest respect, who gives a flying toss, what's being said? Because at the end of the day, the only way you're going to find out, they get in the ring. For me, the 18th of May is between the 2, and listen to this word, undefeated heavyweight champions. 4 belts on the line. And the winner of that will be the best heavyweight in the world, because you look at their record and you see all the people they've beaten.
What do you do with Ngannou next? He put out a video message saying, look, I'm not done with boxing. He said as well in the post-press conference that boxing owes me a little bit too, but you're someone who's obviously steeped in history in the boxing business, matchmaking as well too. What would you do with him next?
I don't know, to be quite honest. I've not given it a lot of thought, and I'd have to give it a lot of thought. I haven't really given it much thought at the moment. He obviously, look, it was a devastating knockout. And let me tell you something. If you're getting hit with a big shot, you go over. It happens. You know, I thought after Joyce lost his first fight with Zhang, because he had that eye injury, I just felt he was coming into the fight. I never thought for a second that he would get knocked out in the second fight, but that happens. That happens. You know, these guys, they're big guys. They're letting these bombs go, and if they land, they can take you out.
What of Zhilei Zhang now? Defeat to Joseph Parker. Joe Parker put in a fantastic display. Zhang seemed to tie after the 6th round.
He has a rematch clause, and he's got to make a decision what he wants to do.
Have you spoke to Zhang's team since?
I spoke to his team after the fight, but I haven't spoken to them this week at all. They've got to let the dust settle, and then they'll make their mind up.
Can I ask you how long they have to activate that rematch clause?
They've got a little while yet.
Second, sorry?
They have a little while yet.
Okay, fair enough. Moving forward and moving to this card as well too, we spoke about Joyce and perspective shifts in boxing as well too. But look, I'm not a promoter here, but it feels like if Joyce has got aspirations towards world titles and those big fights, he's got to come through Cash Ali.
He's got to come through him, and Cash Ali fancies the fight. I mean, he jumps at the opportunity to fight Joe. I suppose he would do, seeing Joe's last two results. But Joe is fighting for his career. His career is on the line, and he needs to win this fight. And if he does win this fight, he'll have a big fight next. But this is his career on the line.
Would you look at the Parker rematch? Would you look at the Zhang rematch? Would you look at Dubois rematch? Would you look at, I think you said to me in the lead-up as well too, the Wilder fight is a good fight too. Who's looking for an opponent as well?
There are a lot of permutations there, a lot of matches we can make. Most important one though is Cash Ali. He's got to beat him first.
Frank, give me the leading one. Of those names I mentioned, what's the leading one that you would want to make?
I'd like to see him. I'm not saying it's going to be made yet, so I'm not going to be held to this. I would obviously like to see the rematch with him and Daniel Dubois, and he'd like to see the rematch with him and Joe Parker.
Indeed. Moving on to Nathan, you look at a brilliant boxing story.
With Zhang, yeah.
Moving on to Nathan Healy, a brilliant boxing story. Boxing often churns out these ones, and this is a real highlight of the last year. Nathan Healy against a tough fight against Brad Pauls. How do you feel he does this weekend?
Look, he is a class. He deserves to be where he is. I mean, he's not done it by luck, and he's done it by hard work, and more importantly, done it with talent. He's turned out to be a much, much better fighter than people give him credit for to start with. And I know he's 32 now, but he's done brilliantly. And when you look at, and again, looking at fighters and comparing guys who've, the fights they've had, you look at Denzel when he challenged for the world title. He could have won that title. He let those 4 rounds he was a little bit apprehensive at the start. If he started early, he may have won that fight. He certainly was well on top at the end. And then you look at Nathan against Denzel, and Nathan he was just brilliant that night. He fought out of his skin, and in a very controlled fashion, and done a job. Excuse me. So he's going to have a tough fight on Saturday. It's a very, very competitive fight between the two of them. And if he comes through, then he'll get a big shot at a title. Excuse me, at Stoke City's ground.
Take your time there, Frank. No worries. Must be the Birmingham area with a bit of sand left in from Riyadh. That's right. Frank, Dennis McCann as well too against Brad Strand. Good fight there for Dennis. Is he likely to look at the Baluta rematch as well too if he comes through this one? He's got to get through it. Brad Strand's not coming to make up the numbers. He comes from a very good gym. He's got a very good trainer in Paul Stevenson, good manager, and they fancy the job. Dennis has changed trainers. He's looking in tremendous condition and he looks well. This is a real good competitive fight. I think it could be the standout fight of the night. It'll be fought at a very high pace, and
if he come through, it's a he'll obviously move forward the same as if Brad come through. At the moment, a lot of people are making the fight. A lot of people in the trade are giving it sort of maybe a 50-50 fight. I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a cracker of a fight.
Moving to the wider sphere of boxing, I want to pick your brains on. Look, this Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. We're getting drip-fed information. Fight seems to be going ahead. As far as we're concerned, it doesn't seem to be an exhibition, and there's going to be no headgear either, Frank. As someone who's
it's an exhibition.
No. As far as we know, it's not an exhibition, but there's definitely no headgear involved in this fight. So it seems like this is going to be a legitimate fight. As someone who's seen Mike Tyson's career through your own eyes, I wonder how you feel about that.
Look, Mike Tyson or anybody at his age should not be boxing. I like Jake Paul, and Jake Paul has been a tremendous promoter. He's got a really good team around him. Nikita's a really good guy, and they obviously see it as which it will be. I mean, it's going to get a lot of viewing. People are going to watch it. Me, as I say, it's not for me. But who am I to say what they should be doing? They're over 21. They're going to fight anyway. Nothing I say is going to change it. I don't think fights like that should be happening. But they get on with it and do what they've got to do. I'll tell you something. For one round, Mike Tyson will be a vintage Mike Tyson for one round because he'll tire. There's no way he can keep that up. He will tire. There's no doubt about that. But for one round, at least, he'll have his hands full.
Will you watch it?
At this moment, I'm saying no, but you know what I will do? Probably, of course I will. I don't think. I don't want to. I'll watch it, but I don't want to see it. If you know what I mean. That sounds a bit stupid or whatever. That probably is stupid. But
I get what you mean. We've got our eyes glued to the 5v5 announcements, waiting for it. But apparently, there's going to be another one. Is that right?
I'm not going into that at the moment. We'll see where we are.
Are you open to another one?
I'm open to anything that makes a lot of sense and the good fights and and enhances what we're doing all times. I suppose. Look. Matchroom are going to want another one. There's no doubt about it after they lose this one. There is no doubt about it. They'll want a return match.
I knew that was coming. Very lastly, Frank, just going back to the heavyweight situation, Hrgovic stands as a mandatory waiting for the IBF title. It seems like the position will be after the first Undisputed fight, IBF will call for their title, and Joshua and Hrgovic will contest for that title. Is that the plan as far as you know it? And also, it's Hrgovic who will stand in as a replacement for Fury versus Usyk should either man fall out of the equation.
Right. All will be revealed after the 18th, because they may, there's a rematch clause. We'll see what goes down with the IBF. No one knows yet what's going down, but we will see after the fight. There's lots of permutations, and there's a lot of things that can be done before the fight takes place on the 18th. So we will see.
Any conversations with the IBF at all?
Yeah, there's been some conversations, but they're at the moment they're just private conversations.
Frank, we'll leave that there. Looking forward to Magnificent 7. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.